Welcome to Talk Across America. I'm Doug Miles, and we're here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. Joining us now on our Book Talk segment, great to welcome a man who's written a very interesting book, particularly if you're a certain age. You don't have to be, though, but if you were, you're going to get a lot of information about some of the great stars of television and film. He's done a lot of interviews, and he's known for his interview program called Baby Boomers Talk Radio. You can hear that on iHeartRadio, and he's based out in the Cleveland area, but the book he's written is called Shooting the Breeze with Baby Boomer Stars, Surprising Celebrity Conversations for the Retro Generation. We're joined today by Torchy Smith, and he joined us by telephone. Torchy, great to talk with you. How are you?
Okay, and welcome to all my friends in the peanut gallery out there, left over from the Howdy Doody show.
That's right. Now, I wasn't around then. I've seen some of those old shows on YouTube. My sister remember watching that. She's a little bit older than I am, but that was one of the most popular kid shows of all time, wasn't it?
Oh, you know why?
Nothing else was on?
Nothing else to watch.
I watched some of them, and nothing wrong with Buffalo Bob, God bless him, but I didn't really get why it was so great. But maybe you had to be around then.
Oh my gosh, we ran home to watch it. We lit up our eyeballs with the test pattern first. In the afternoon there was no TV. Their soap operas came a little bit later, but from something like in the afternoon from like 2 to 4, there was no TV on. Just a test pattern. So
right.
The first thing to come on was Howdy Doody. So that's why it was so popular.
I remember in New York, and I guess all the major cities, I know you grew up in the Cleveland area, but we had, these guys who did dress up as a character. We had a guy called Captain Jack McCarthy. Another one was Officer Joe Bolton, and they would show, Three Stooges or Dick Tracy cartoons, whatever it was, but they would be like the afternoon hosts. Did they have somebody like that where you grew up?
In every major city.
Yeah.
they had something like that. They all had a children's thing where actually, Three Stooges came later. First thing they had was cartoons, of course, and then then the Little Rascals. And, oh my gosh, yeah. Funny story. My daughter became a TV producer. And this is something like 25 years ago. And when the E! Channel first started, they did True Hollywood Stories.
Right.
And she was an associate producer there at that time. And they did The Life of Stymie, if you remember Stymie.
Oh, sure, right.
For the Little Rascals. And I'm at work, I have my own business, and I get this call. And they put me on speakerphone. We don't have our research in. Now, the oldest person in that room was 35. They knew nothing about the Little Rascals. Nothing. And I'm giving them all the information. I'm getting a call every 5 minutes. And by the time they got the research in, I had told them enough stuff to get them going. So when the program came on, at the end, it says a special thanks by Torchy Smith.
Yeah, Little Rascals, Three Stooges, and then, reruns like Batman and Superman, all those shows would be put right in the afternoon slot once they became syndicated. Right. So they were right. Well, let's get to the book, because there's a lot of names in it. We won't obviously touch on all of them, but we'll give the audience a taste of it. But I guess sure. You've done this radio show. It's based out of your radio show, right? That you've interviewed all these celebrities.
Right.
Who was your first interview that you did?
Very interesting question. Okay. I was afraid because I didn't know anybody, really. And I always wanted to be a kid star myself, and I loved the Mickey Mouse Club. And the first chapter in my book talks about myself and how I got into this. And so the first person I thought, well, who should I call? And I have a way of finding people with their phone numbers. Since I was the head of my reunion, there's a way to pay a little extra to find people. So I thought, JJ. JJ's name was JJ Solara. And I think, well, how many of those can there be in the United States? And I find him, and nobody knew where he was, and he almost hung up on me. And being a former salesman, I didn't take it personally. And how'd you get my number? I hate even thinking I was a Mouseketeer. I'm a motorcycle guy. I write for motorcycle magazines. Nobody knows I was a Mouseketeer. And if you watch the early Musketeers, he's on there for 1 year. He got fired. He was bullied. Wasn't a great-looking kid, but very talented in dancing and singing, and his parents had him do stuff like that even before Mickey Mouse Club. And so he ended up doing an interview with me as we got talking, and he says, most kids blow their brains out after they become stars and go nowhere. And I'm quite bitter about the whole thing. And so I said, well, I got the first one, and I call up Cubby. And I'm a little bit nervous about this one, and I got his wife, and I said, I interviewed JJ. JJ, nobody's heard from him. He doesn't answer the phone. I said, well, I got an interview with him. She says, well, we would love to hear it, both Cubby and I. He roared, and he says, of course I'll do an interview with you, and then he got me all the other living Musketeers.
Yeah, you got about 8 or 9 or 10 of them in there. Now, I again, as I said, my sister remembers watching that show. We had a record album of the Musketeers, so I kind of got familiar with it from that. But I know Bobby Burgess, folks even a little older than you and I remember seeing him on Lawrence Welk's show. He became a
Lawrence
dancer.
Welk, exactly, a dancer, right. And then he started his own cotillion ballroom dancing studio, and his kids still do that. And many cities don't have cotillions anymore coming out parties, but he made a career out of that. Each one of them has a story, and that's what my book is about. And I highlight the surprising things to know about them of today and things that they couldn't talk about from yesteryears. So I moved on to the other Disney characters. There was Tommy Kirk, who was in Old Yeller, who I thought was a great actor. He really was in quite a few things. He got a raw deal. He unfortunately got into a lot of drugs, and he was in a swimming pool at 18, fondled another boy at 16, came out gay, and Walt Disney heard about it. And actually, he was doing a movie with John Wayne, and John Wayne wanted nothing to do with him, and his career went nowhere. And today, if he came out as being gay, of course,
he got his own show.
He tripled his audience. And there were a lot of kids who were stars, but there were a lot of kid actors who could be adult actors who were really, really good actors, just happened to be kids.
Yeah.
Few of them. And Tommy Kirk was in that category. So he ended up cleaning carpets for most of his life after that and starting his own carpet cleaning business. And I probably had the last interview with him. He says, I'm not going to do any more interviews after years.
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
One of my favorites, again, this is a show I did watch as a kid, and I think every boy had a crush on her, Angela Cartwright from Lost in Space.
Oh,
Penny.
sure. Yes.
How was she? She seems like a very nice woman, and her sister as well, right? You interviewed them both. Veronica Cartwright, another actress. Yeah.
Both of those girls have very interesting stories, and they happen to live next door to one another after being separated for years. And Angela kind of makes a living now. She was in The Sound of Music.
Sure.
And and it's little girl, and she goes back with a group of people that she'll sponsor and start singing the hills.
There's a tour, right? Like a tour. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. You pointed that out. I knew she was in the movie, but I didn't know she went and did that every year.
Yeah. The hills, blah blah blah, and whatever. And we love this.
Of course, she was on Make Room for Daddy too. She was a little girl on that for many years.
Yeah.
People tend to forget that, but she was.
Yeah, there's a real story there with Daddy Thomas. I became friends and maybe too close with Sherry Jackson, who...
Oh, sure, the one that played the oldest daughter.
Right,
yeah.
And Angela Cartwright was not on there until Marjorie Lord came on there and married Danny Thomas in the show.
Right. The previous actress left, Jean Hagen.
Yes, Jean Hagen left, and then shortly after that, Sherry Jackson left. And Sherry went on to do quite a few things. She had a big scandal about her posing nude in a men's magazine, and that's in the book also about what happened there. But Yeah, so there was some friction there on that show, and you will not see that in reruns. According to Sherry, she was one reason they got her out of her contract. They said, "We're going to give you residuals," which was unheard of in those days. You get all the residuals. It's a very popular show. Well, now because the show's too expensive, they have to pay residuals. It's not on.
You can't find it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you know, all these old shows are on, like Me TV and all these new nostalgia type of retro TV stations, and of course they get them very cheap because they don't have to pay residuals. And of course, those that do, like Friends of today, that program Friends, it's an expensive thing to show because they all get residuals. So it's an interesting maneuver over the years of money when you don't see these stars anymore.
I know Odd Couple, too, I heard, is very expensive because both Tony Randall and Jack Klugman, part of their deal was to get the residuals. That's why you don't see it too often in reruns, because it's an expensive show to show, and it's one of the classics, you know, of all time.
Yeah. And actually, and people don't know this, when you have reruns, the more years you have the reruns, the less the residuals are.
Right.
So I've talked to stars that got checks for 25 cents.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, some I've heard people get like a penny or 10 cents.
Yeah, right. They issue 40 cent, 50 cent stamp for 13 cents. And I've told some of them, and they, you know, so I got a great idea, and I still have a great idea on this, is don't cash the check and sell it on eBay.
That's yeah. You probably make $50 doing that, right?
Right, exactly. Someone's got to pay $50 for one of your residual checks.
Well, I know we have limited time today, but again, you know, the book is filled with so many interviews. I guess 50 overall, and again, the show we won't go through them, but specifically. But you have people from the Real McCoys, Kathleen Nolan, Marion Ross, Happy Days. You have also Lou Costello's daughter. That's an interesting interview.
Oh, sure.
Lyle Wagner from the Carl Burnett Show. So a lot of great people.
There's things about each one of those that are hidden stories that are very interesting. So,
well, give out where you can get the book, Torchy. I know it just came out as we talked today, pretty recently. Where can you order it?
Well, it's easy on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, and if you see it in the bookstore, please don't steal it. But don't take it to
Torchy has to pay
library.
The store back if you do that. So don't do that.
Don't take it to the Barnes and Nobles and sit there all day and read it. Buy it and take it home.
That's it.
But it's available at Barnes and Nobles. If they don't have it, they'll order it for you. And
let me give the credit. The title again: "Shooting the Breeze" with Baby Boomer stars. I want to give the full title there. Yeah.
Yes. So there's not too many more outlets you can buy that you can get books other than online. So, and if you Google my name, Torchy Smith, TorchySmith, the book comes up somewhere there. And my website, you can buy it through there. It's a link to the Amazon, is www.babyboomerstalkradio.com. And for those of you who are baby boomers and didn't hear that, it's babyboomerstalkradio.com.
Now, went to your website, great website. You got a lot of the interviews posted up there, current ones, and you still do the interviews, right, Torchy? I mean, you haven't stopped, right?
Yeah. I'm doing Max Gale tomorrow from Barney Miller Show, and
oh, great!
He's
the guy you don't hear much. You hear Hal Linden once in a while, but not Max. So that'll be interesting to hear him.
Oh, he's in a soap opera. He was in a General Hospital. Who watches soap operas?
Is that right? I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah. But nobody watches soap operas because there's so much interesting with Trump every day. Who's going to watch a soap opera?
And the rest of us have to work during the day, right? We can't stay home. Well, Torchy, it's a pleasure talking to you. Let's definitely do it again down the road when you'll have another batch of interviews, I'm sure. And great talking with you. Shooting the Breeze with Baby Boomer Stars is the name of the book. And we'll talk to you down the road. Thanks for being with us.
All right, Doug. I agree with you. It was great talking to me.
Thank you for joining us today on Talk Across America. Please visit our website at DougMilesMedia.com for more great interviews and content. And if you're interested in any of the books we talk about on the program, please click the Amazon link on our website. It helps support the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again real soon here from beautiful Sarasota, Florida.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.